For a moment, the silence was worse than the noise. Zariah's heartbeat filled her ears, thundering like distant drums. She could feel the darkness pressing in from every side, like velvet walls collapsing around her. Her breath hitched, fingers twitching by her side as her back met cold stone. She couldn't see Junjie now, only the thick black of the alley swallowing sound, sight, and certainty. Somewhere ahead, engines purred. Footsteps. A whisper of steel being unsheathed. And then, a sharp whistle. 3 short blasts. Junjie's signal. And hell broke loose. From behind them, black vehicles surged forward. Sleek, unmarked, deadly. Their doors burst open, and Junjie's men poured out like shadows with blades. Tactical flashlights sliced through the dark, thin white beams that caught on metal and flesh. It was like watching night tear itself apart. One of the men who had flashed her mother's photo barely turned before a fist slammed into his jaw. The crack echoed. Another reached for a blade, but a foot caught him in the ribs and sent him crashing into a dumpster. A knife skidded across the pavement, disappearing into shadows. Zariah stumbled back, nearly tripping over a loose grate in the ground. The cold metal bit into her ankle. She crouched low, eyes wide, trying to make sense of the blur of movement and grunts and pain around her. Someone screamed, a short, wet sound, and then it was drowned out by a flurry of footsteps and a body slamming into the wall beside her. She couldn't breathe. Couldn't think. Her mother's face was still seared into her mind. And then, his hand. Junjie's hand. Gripping hers. He yanked her behind the nearest car, pressing her back against the cold steel of the door. He stood in front of her, shielding her with his body, every line of him coiled and ready. Blood dotted the sleeve of his jacket. Someone else's, maybe his. He didn't flinch. "They're here for her," he said, his voice steady but tight. "My mom," she choked, her throat raw. Where is she?" "They brought her in a separate car. I counted 3. She's in one of them. But which? I'll find her. Stay here." "No, wait, Junjie." But he was already gone. He vanished into the chaos like it was his second skin. Zariah pressed herself tighter against the vehicle, her chest heaving. Her hands felt numb. Her stomach twisted. Around her, the alley echoed with struggle. Flesh against concrete, bone against metal, boots slapping pavement. She had never seen anything like this. Never imagined him like this. He was ruthless. Controlled. Calculating. A surgeon in a war zone. The violence didn't shake him, it lived in his bones, moved through him like a language he'd spoken all his life. And yet, it was for her. For her mother. She tried to breathe, grounding herself in the feel of the car behind her, the vibrations of violence passing like waves. Her mind conjured images she didn't want. Her mother, alone, afraid, gagged, bound in the back of some van. And her fault. All of this was her fault. She squeezed her eyes shut. Suddenly, a gunshot. 1, 2. Screams. Tires screeched. Someone shouted in Mandarin. Then a voice barked Junjie's name. Zariah opened her eyes. And saw him. Junjie was sprinting toward one of the black vans. He vaulted onto the hood, slammed an elbow through the passenger window, and unlocked the door from the inside. His body moved with precision, like he'd done this before. Like he was trained for this. The door flew open. A scream followed, raw, strained, Familiar. Her mother. Mom. Zariah bolted forward. Her body didn't wait for permission from her mind. But before she could reach the van, Junjie appeared, cradling her mother in his arms. Bruised. Gag removed. Clothes torn at the collar. But alive. Zariah ran toward them, sobs tearing from her throat. She barely caught her mother as Junjie passed her into her arms. The older woman collapsed into Zariah's embrace, trembling and crying silently, her face buried in her daughter's shoulder. "She's safe now," Junjie said, his voice low. Zariah looked up. His shirt was torn at the shoulder, blood seeping from a shallow gash where a blade had grazed him. His knuckles were raw. A smear of someone else's blood marked his temple. But he stood tall, unshaken. Her heart twisted. This wasn't about strategy anymore. Or revenge. Or contracts. He had risked himself. For her. For the woman in her arms. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice trembling with more than gratitude. Junjie didn't speak. But his eyes, dark and unreadable, locked onto hers. And in them, she saw it. Need. Not possession. Not calculation. Just raw, aching need. He stepped closer. And kissed her. Not coldly. Not cautiously. But as if he had just come back from war. And she was the only thing tethering him to the world. She didn't resist. She leaned in. Mouth against mouth. Breath tangled. The kiss deepened, turned bruising. Her arms wrapped around his shoulders, and she tasted desperation, gratitude, hunger, and something else. Something dangerous. Later that night, they were at one of his estates. Hidden. Fortified. Silent. A fortress masked as a mansion, with concrete bones and satin curtains. Her mother slept in the adjacent suite, heavily sedated and guarded by two of Junjie's men. Zariah stood in the doorway of the dim bedroom, body still shaking as adrenaline slowly bled from her limbs. Her mind raced with too many images. The alley. The scream. The blood. The kiss. Junjie approached her. He didn't speak. Just cupped her face with calloused hands and rested his forehead against hers. His touch was grounding. Solid. And when they undressed each other, it wasn't frantic. It was reverent. A slow undoing of armor. A war meeting peace. In the low light, they moved as if the world outside no longer existed. For those hours, she wasn't the girl who had been betrayed. He wasn't the man who wore power like a second skin. They were just Zariah and Junjie. Skin. Breath. Pulse. She didn't know where he ended and she began. She only knew that, in his arms, after everything, the blood, the shadows, the knives, she felt safe. Claimed. Not owned. Cherished. Afterward, Junjie collapsed beside her, half asleep, arm draped over her side. His breathing was deep, rhythmic. But even in rest, tension coiled in his body like a blade waiting to unsheath. She reached out and traced the cut on his shoulder. He flinched, but didn't move away. They said nothing. And that silence said everything. Morning bled in through the curtains, pale and slow. Zariah stirred beneath the sheets, blinking against the golden light, the warmth of the man beside her. For a moment, she allowed herself to believe in a version of the world where none of this had happened. Where the kiss wasn't a side effect of trauma. Where the man beside her wasn't both protector and stranger. Then, a presence. standing at the foot of the bed. Cold. Still. Zariah's eyes widened. A woman. Elegant. Stunning. Regal in icy silk. But her expression was pure venom. "You replaced me with this," she spat, voice like crystal shattering. Zariah sat up, clutching the sheet to her chest. "Who the hell are you?" Junjie stirred behind her. "Yow!" he groaned, dragging a hand across his face. "What are you doing here?" "You married her?" Lin Yao snapped, eyes cutting Zariah apart. "You touched me weeks ago. What is this, some game?" Zariah's fists clenched under the sheets. The air turned acidic. Before she could respond, another voice. "I don't think this is a game anymore." She turned, and her stomach dropped. Lu Jian, standing beside Lin Yao. Calm. Sharp suit. That same arrogant tilt to his mouth. "Zariah," he said, softer. "I made a mistake." Her chest tightened. "What?" "I didn't know what I had until I lost you. Mei Lin. She was nothing. I ended it." Zariah's pulse thundered in her ears. Junjie rose now, shirtless, his body blocking hers instinctively. "You shouldn't be here," he said through clenched teeth. "I don't care what she signed," Jian replied, his eyes still fixed on Zariah. "She was mine before she was yours. Let her go." And just like that, the room was a bomb. Two men. Both dangerous. Both claiming her. But only one had bled for her mother. Only one had kissed her like she was salvation. "I'm not going anywhere," Zariah said, rising from the bed, eyes blazing. Junjie grabbed her hand, led her out of the room, down a hall, into silence. Only when they reached the balcony, overlooking a walled garden, did she pull away. "Why didn't you tell me about her?" she demanded. "About Lin Yao?" His jaw flexed. "We agreed on a plan," he said. "We stick to it. I need the truth, Junjie. Not a strategy. Not silence. The truth." He looked at her then. Not with calculation, but with something broken. He didn't speak. Didn't try to explain. But something behind his silence told her. He wasn't just protecting her. He was protecting something bigger. And suddenly, Zariah didn't know whether to be afraid of him, or to fall harder than she already had. Zariah stepped back, her spine brushing the cold railing. The wind tugged at her hair, but she barely noticed. Junjie hadn't moved. Still staring. Still silent. Then, his phone rang. He didn't reach for it. Didn't break his gaze. But something about the way his jaw tightened, how the tension crept into his posture, made her step forward again. "You should answer that," she said quietly. Only then did he glance at the screen. Just a glance, and he stiffened. He pressed the device to his ear, eyes never leaving hers. A low voice spoke on the other end. Mandarin. Fast. Urgent. Junjie didn't respond immediately. Then in a clipped voice he answered. "No. Not yet. Keep her there." Zariah's brows drew together. "Who?" He ended the call without a word. "Who are you keeping?" she asked, her voice sharp now. He didn't answer. "Junjie." "It's not safe here anymore," he said, brushing past her. "We need to leave. Now." But Zariah stood her ground. "Who's her?" This time, his answer was a whisper. Your little sister. They didn't speak again until they reached the underground parking. His black car was already waiting, the engine humming low like a predator ready to pounce. Zariah climbed in, arms crossed, her mind racing. Her sister? Her sister was in Ghana, working, studying, trying to forget the mess Zariah had left behind. Or so she thought. The car peeled into the night. Explain, she said finally. Junjie's hands were tight on the wheel. She came to Shanghai 3 days ago. Alone. Someone intercepted her at the airport. Zariah's heart dropped. Intercepted. She's safe now. I had her moved to a secure location. You knew this and didn't tell me? If I told you then, you would have run straight to her and put both of you in danger. I deserve to know when my family is being used as leverage. His knuckles whitened against the steering wheel. They're using your sister the same way they used your mother. That alley attack wasn't random. It was a message. Her mouth went dry. What message? They know you're with me now, he said. And they're afraid. They stopped outside a high-walled compound hidden beneath the canopy of a private estate. No security cameras. No signs. Just silence and an old brass gate. Zariah followed Junjie through a side entrance. The hallway was dim, lit by candles flickering in niches along the stone wall. Where is she? Zariah asked, her voice hoarse. She's resting. The doctor gave her a sedative. She didn't want you to see her like that. Zariah's chest tightened. I don't care how she looks. I want to see her. He hesitated. Tomorrow. She whirled on him. I'm done being handled, Junjie. No more secrets. No more sedatives. I'm seeing her now. Before he could answer, a soft voice echoed from the shadows. You always were the stubborn one. Zariah turned. Her sister stood there, pale, bruised, but alive. Zariah rushed forward and pulled her into a hug so tight she felt her own ribs strain. And for the first time since the marriage began, Zariah's tears fell not out of anger, not out of fear, but out of the fragile breaking relief that someone she loved had made it out alive. Behind her, Junjie turned away, giving them space. And in that flicker of candlelight, Zariah knew. This wasn't just revenge anymore. This was war.